I don't know. Check. Do you have your video on? Let's-
Boo boo. Don't know. Open recent chats. Let's stop participants. Okay. Should I press the camera icon?
yes. Let's try. That's something different.
Let me try again. Hang on. Hey, at least it was nice out, right?
There you are. There you are. There you are. Yeah, man. See me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's
Let me.
your lovely face. So damn handsome. Hey, did you have anything you wanted to ask him? Just so I don't want to step on your toes or anything.
um, it'll come to me. I'm trying to reach him right now.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm gonna ring him one more time. So while we're waiting, um, oh, we're still early.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds great.
Thank you, man. I got elixirs on there.
There you go. Those are great strings, man.
They've been on there since I got back, or
Yeah.
actually, yeah. And I mean, that they nice and crisp and squeaky.
Yeah, they sound bright.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're great. They're great strings. I like clear tone too. If you ever can, try those out. I think you'll be happy with those too.
Clear Tone. I'll check them out. Who makes them, or is it made by Clear Tone?
I think it's just clear tone. It might be made by Dario, but I don't know how to say that. But yeah, they're great. You'll love it. If you like elixirs, I know you'll like them too. After that, it's a preference.
Yeah, yeah, man. They it's the phosphor bronze elixirs because I like.
Yeah, they're bright.
Yes, I
Bright.
like.
They sound great.
What do you use?
On the acoustic,
Mm-hmm.
I have the clear tones on there.
Okay.
They've been on there for a long, long time, and they just last a long time.
Yeah.
On on the electrics, I went back to Ernie Balls, man. The Slinkies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was using Fender Bullets forever, and they're great strings, but I used to use GHS Boomers, and I kept popping those things, man. I don't know, but I bend a lot, and I would pop them after a couple weeks, and so. But Ernie Ball, every now and then I'll guess it, but they got this one gauge. It's just me and Tony right now. Okay. Hang on, sorry, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say hi.
Hey, Noah. How are you?
You said, "Hey, Nelda."
I heard through this one.
Okay.
Okay.
I love her.
I know. Me too. The lovely Nelda.
Lovely Nelda. No, you heard that, right?
Of course, I listened to Pearl. I listened to your.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No. No. I appreciated the story, man. I appreciated the shout out for Bobby McGee. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, man. And yeah, that was a long time ago, man. And that still feels like a very fresh memory when you started a solo and looked across over there, and you were like looking down at the guitar, your Ibanez RG,
Mhm.
and he was wailing a solo on there, and it's the same face he had a couple weeks ago when you were over here and Nelda snapped a picture, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's the yeah. That was so much fun.
Yeah, man, I had fun too. I wish I could have stayed longer, is all I can say, because that was enriching. Watching you play, playing solo on that acoustic was impressive. You gotten really damn good. You gotten really damn good with your chops, or your.
And I appreciate that. That's very nice of you to say.
You kept saying it's just a major scale. It's just a major scale. Boy, I've been working on my major scales. I promise.
If you run through the major scale and just change the root note, then you're in a different mode, and all of them sound different, and all of them kind of sound, just change the root note, and just always land back on that root note, and you'll hear it, and it's putting that way. Jerry Alice is the one that told me that. He told me that that's always going to be. It will never change, and so when I was like started doing it, I was like, oh. So then you start moving that around the fretboard, and then it kind of opens up. It gets big.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a great book actually on it's the Hal Leonard guitar method on it's an incredible scale finder. It's
okay. Yeah.
It's rich. Hell, I don't hardly know where to start. It's just a book of scales and modes and
page 1.
I mean, I imagine it looks like there's just extreme order to it, and it says 17 scales and modes.
Okay, so they got the extra 5. There's like some Japanese modes that Jerry was telling me that are different, but it's just different intervals. It's basically the same thing. But I'm sure the guys in Failure know about that, because man, I don't know if they are doing it by accident or on purpose. Because man, I just had an epiphany earlier this week, and I was like, oh, that's what you were talking about. That I missed. I guess I just had to let it soak in for a second. And I was like, oh man, fuck. I could have been on this forever. Because you've been talking about them since the 90s, man.
Yeah.
And I listened to them a few times, and I did not like them. I did like them, but something clicked this week. I was like, oh. And it was profound, because I was listening to the drums, and the drums in this particular song, I'm not even sure what. I heard so many fucking Failure songs this week. Yeah. There's so much. There is so much. But when I heard it, I was like, the drums just kept this song together through the first couple of minutes, because it was like all everywhere. It was like this. The distorted bass was doing this over here, and the guitar was way high doing chords way high on the fretboard over here, and there was this pow, 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 and I was like, oh. And then it just sucked in together, like it all worked.
Hey. Kellii Scott.
Mr. Kellii Scott.
Welcome.
How's it going?
Great.
And fantastic, man. Fantastic. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm getting a lot of screen time today.
I
just got off a video conference about a record that I'm about to start. I think the week after next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one guy was in Athens and the other was in Ohio.
Athens,
Yeah.
Athens, Georgia.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's not too far from me or Sam for that matter. By the way, I'm Tony. I'm the one that's been coordinating with you on
Yeah.
Instagram and Sam.
I'm Sam. This is Tony's his podcast, but he lets me be on from time to time and help out. And he turned me on to a lot of bands, including yours. And I don't want to fanboy out on you, but it's an honor to talk to you, sir. And
Nah,
but
it's okay. I'm a fan. I'm a failure fan also.
yeah.
How
Well,
could
among
you
other
not be?
like Blinker and
Mhm.
yeah, it's good stuff. But to finish up, Tony's now in Florida, not too far from Orlando, and
Oh.
I'm in Birmingham.
I moved here from Orlando.
Yeah, that's what we were listening to. Another podcast you were on, Road Case.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That was a fun one.
That's a
Yeah, I
good-
graduated Oak Ridge High School, 1987,
Wow.
and landed here in Los Angeles within like a week, maybe a week and a day.
So
So
we're like, go ahead, sorry, buddy.
I was gonna say, so you know Ocala?
Yeah, I got a lot of friends that live up there.
Oh, cool. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I used to also be in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade the president of Future Farmers of America at my junior high school.
Oh, sweet.
So a lot of kids would come down from Ocala for like different competitions, like 4-H people. I think Ocala has a lot of 4-H.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh yeah, it's an agriculturally rich area with all the horses and everything.
And the silt from all the floods and
Yeah.
there's so many storms.
Look forward to more of those in the future.
No kidding, right?
Oh, I just saw we've got another one just popped up in the Atlantic. Yeah, it's constant, but it's it's Indian summer. Did you know it, Sam? Did I
Yeah.
mention it to you? It's Indian summer.
Again.
So yeah, every time I turn around, it's Indian summer. It's my favorite time of year. It's not fall. It's summer's doesn't want to let go, so it just gets hot as hell, and down here it's humid, and the insects go crazy one last time, and it's just like it's the time between the autumnal equinox and the first day of fall, basically. So it's just a really enjoyable time of year, man. How's it out there?
Today, actually, it's really, really hot out here. There was last week was nice. It was kind of cool, like upper 70s, low 80s. But the week before that, and it looks like this week is going to be like pretty unbearably hot. So I try and stay inside as much as possible, at least until it cools down around 4 o'clock.
Right.
Yeah, it's gross.
What you have, Sam?
Yeah, I have a few questions that I want to ask you, Kellii. But is it okay if I call you Kellii?
As opposed to what, Mr. Scott?
Yeah. I know you're only like 4 years older than I am, man. But you've blown my fucking mind this week, and I really appreciate. Okay, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. But
no, as do I. I don't take it lightly when somebody reaches out and like gives a shit and wants to talk about stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, that's really cool because a lot of people have turned me and us down. Probably because they're busy or not, anything. But it's like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. But I've heard some stories from you over the past few days from other podcasts and interviews and stuff that we was doing. But can I ask you to maybe go over and elaborate on the peeing in the tuba incident, please, sir?
Oh, there at Westridge Junior High School on Oak Ridge Road. Well, it goes back to, it started with, I was getting in trouble in class, not getting in trouble, but my parents were pulled aside by more than one teacher. And, given the old, he's a great student, but he's like starting to do this thing in class where he's like, beating on the desk and stuff. And it's really just kind of a distraction and, yada, 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 yada. So my parents made a deal with me that they would get me a drum set if I would chill out in class with the beating on the desk, and joined junior high school band. So I was like, all right, that sounds like a good deal. I think I can do that. And I wound up joining junior high school band in 7th grade. And I had this teacher who, in retrospect, was probably a really amazing teacher. He didn't have a chance against me. Just right out the gate, he gave me a practice, a rubber pad and a set of bells. And I was like, what's this? Like, I want to be out on the football field doing drum solos on the toms, and I'm a rock drummer, the show. And he was like really conservative, suit and tie, classically trained, as you would need to be a high school or junior high school band teacher. And we just, from the get-go, we just kind of butted heads.
Making sticks like the
making me hold my sticks like this, and I would purposely hold them like this just to, F with him. And they were big sticks that I could hardly hold, and it was just kind of a drag, and it really wasn't what I thought I was signing up for. And fortunately, my dad was in the Navy, so he was out to sea a lot, so I could get away with a lot of stuff, and he wasn't really around to hear about it. And my mom worked, so I could also get away with a lot of stuff, and she would never find out about it. And one of those things was just, I kept butting heads with this teacher, and, I was hoping just to get thrown out of his class or excused from his class so I could pick another elective just, based on being a disciplinary problem. So I was pretty disruptive and always cracking jokes and interrupting him and distracting other students. And, just getting sent away to the office, and none of those things were really working. And the more I did it and the more it didn't work, the bigger drag it became. So I kind of finally had my brilliant idea of, during lunch period, I would go into the band room and I would pee inside of a tuba. And, the tuba player would blow it, and, it'd be this big scene, and everybody would know it was me, and I would get excused from the class, and I'd be able to pick another elective. So, I went in there and did it, and, obviously in retrospect, I would have never done it. It was kind of, it's a biohazard, first of all. It wasn't a very well thought out plan. I was in 7th grade, so what was I, 11 or something? But it did work, and he did know it was me, and he threw me out of the class and told me to never come back. And I had to go down to the office. The thing I wasn't counting on was that they weren't going to let me just choose an elective, like an art class or something that I wanted to do. They wound up putting me in this special class for at-risk children called Cop Shop.
Oh, shit.
My older brother, sister were also in Cop Shop when they were in junior high school because they partied and did drugs and got arrested all the time. And so it's one of those where it's literally taught by the school police officer. And, its intention is to, hopefully curb a student's behavior before it gets out of hand and causes real trouble. And so I had to sit through that for, the semester. And it wasn't that bad, actually. The deputy what was his name? I can't remember his name. He was super cool, and I definitely learned some stuff about drugs and, jail and, just shit like that. I wasn't entirely at risk. I mean, I just wanted to get out of the class. And he was cool with that. And he was like, but now you're here. So, let's make the best of the situation. And, a couple more weeks, you'll be on to another class of your choosing.
Maybe in
But
retrospect,
yeah, that's kind of how all that started. And fortunately, my parents never caught wind of why I switched classes. And I think I might have kind of bullshit my mom a little bit and saying, Danny and Cindy are such fuck ups. I really think that I should learn about what's going on with them, and it'd be better for the family. Some just garbage. I was definitely really good at making things up, tall tales that would make you feel like it was in your best interest also. So, I didn't get in any trouble for it. And, my mom was none the wiser that I was actually thrown out for doing this horrible thing. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe in retrospect, maybe you wouldn't have done it looking back, but it's a hilarious story, sir.
It's a pretty hilarious story. And fortunately, it didn't deter my parents from getting me a drum set, which I got that following Christmas, when I had a month after I turned 12. Yeah, in retrospect, though, again, I should have stayed in the class, and I shouldn't have done that, because he definitely had a lot of things to teach me that, most of which I would have to just learn again later on,
Yeah.
that definitely apply to, what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
Just
yeah,
a skill set.
He had a job and stuff, and you were making it harder.
Yeah. I've often thought about. I was going back to. My mom passed away 4 or 5 years ago, and I was flying home to Orlando every 3 to 5 weeks to take care of my dad, for a couple years. And I often thought about trying to track him down and making some sort of amends to him. I did look and asked around a couple people that I still have contact with from junior high and high school, and most of them, didn't know who he was, maybe vaguely remembered him, because they weren't in band. Yeah.
Well, man, it's okay.
If you're watching this, Mr. Ensfelder, I'm very sorry.
Well, there it is.
Very immature, and you were right.
Well, there it is.
Excellent. Good story. Good energy coming out. So we're big fans of the Replicants and Lusk era, Kellii. And that would include Magnified. I guess 92 to.
Well, actually, Magnified was 92, 93. Lusk and Replicants was more around Fantastic Planet era.
Yeah.
When we finished Fantastic Planet, immediately following that, because we had rented a house, they started using that house and the same recording equipment to do the Replicants record. And shortly after that, Paul D'Amour and me and Greg and a couple other friends, I think Danny appeared on one of the Lusk songs. We started doing the Lusk record over at Paul's house. He set up a little recording studio, and we just recorded in his living room. And at the same time, we actually were entertaining having Paul as the second guitar player in Failure.
Really?
Yeah. He had actually, I kind of poo-pooed the idea. I wasn't really into the idea of having another member. But given all of the overdubs and just kind of not carried away, we recorded a lot of stuff that was going to be very challenging to play as a 3-piece live. And I kind of begrudgingly was like, all right, well, Paul's close to us, and we have a rehearsal room. Let's just have him come down and, we'll check it out. And as soon as he played with us, it was pretty obvious how much a second guitar player would bring to the live sound, especially given, that we just recorded Fantastic Planet and we were starting to get ready to, learn those songs and learn how to perform that stuff live. But he was also working on the Lusk record, and I think doing both things he was finding a bit challenging, because we're taskmasters, for ourselves. We set high bars for ourselves, but also individually, like, when you show up to rehearsal, like, you need to know your stuff so we can get to work. And, Paul, obviously, because he was working on this record, didn't have the time to really learn, like, the failure stuff. And he would come in one day and it would be amazing. And he'd come in the next day and he'd forgotten a bunch of stuff. And so, we just kind of chalked it up to, well, he proved that we need another guitar player. But now, because he has so much stuff going on, like, who is that other guitar player going to be? And I was actually in a band with Troy on the side. And Troy and I had already known each other for, probably like close to 10 years at that point. And he was a big Failure fan, and he knew some of the songs and was just such a great guitar player. He would have no trouble learning it. And he was in between like bands. So he was definitely going to be into it. So Troy wound up getting that live guitar player role. And unfortunately, we broke up before he could become a full-fledged member of the band by recording the next record with us.
Who's the fourth guy on the cover of Golden?
That's Troy. That's Troy. That's from the live Fantastic Planet touring. Actually, I think that cover, is that the one with me bending over?
Yes.
That was at the side of the stage after one of the Lollapalooza performances.
I saw y'all at Lollapalooza.
Yeah. We were playing the main stage at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they would put all of our gear on forklifts and bring it over for us to headline the second stage every day.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember Atlanta, 93, Fox Theater, I believe, or Lakewood Amphitheater.
Yeah, Lakewood Amphitheater.
Yeah. Y'all were on second stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you. That's where I was like, okay, because Tool was there, and that's where I discovered Tool.
A lot of people missed us on the main stage also. They didn't know we were playing. What happened is at the last minute, I think it was Korn was in that slot, and their guitar player, they had a day off, and their guitar player, they all went swimming in a lake somewhere, and he wound up getting fucking spinal meningitis.
Oh my God.
And they had to drop out of the tour. So we replaced them on the second stage and continued to headline we replaced them on the main stage and continued to headline the second stage.
Yeah. That was before Tool had any stage, anything besides them on stage. And they still brought it.
Yeah, no, and we had already by that point toured extensively with Tool on Magnified, and Ken would also get up and play Prison Sex with them every now and again.
Wow.
Because he knew that song very well because he had edited that video for them.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Ken was a film student out here in California. He was going to go become like a famous movie director. And at the time, he was actually doing a lot of the early late 80s hip hop videos, like Dre videos, all the Ice-T videos. Those were all Ken shot and directed a lot of those early, like late 80s hip hop videos while he was in film school.
Holy shit, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, that leads me into because doesn't Ken like mix your stuff and everything too?
He does. Ken mixes all the stuff. It gets produced as a band. Ken does all the mixing. Ken does the mastering.
Mhm.
We actually just finished mastering the new record, album 6.
Nice.
And now we're going to move on to just putting together the packaging and sending it off to get printed up.
Oh, well, that's exciting. Now,
But he also does our videos.
yeah.
Did he get stuck?
He directs the videos, and does all the editing of the videos.
He did. Did he do Stuck on You?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, he did Stuck on You. He did everything,
Counterfeit
off of
Sky.
the Monster record.
Uh-huh.
That's
a great video.
Yeah.
Counterfeit Sky.
Yeah. Counterfeit Sky, actually, he re-edited that video. That video is a short film. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm so bad. I feel horrible. I can't remember his name. Ken, I was away and we were talking about doing another video. My wife and I had taken a trip up north, and I can't remember what it was verbatim, but I had this weird, like, soft treatment for a video idea. And it was probably like, I don't know, 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and I had emailed Ken, and I woke up the next morning and there was a video of it in my inbox. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't understand it. But it totally was kind of what I was talking about. I mean, the video is much better than what I was talking about. But it was sort of like loosely the same idea, but much, much, much better. And it turns out that Ken had worked with it was a special effects guy who was making short films a couple times a year, and Ken would do the music for them. And he had done this project and remembered doing it and was like, oh, this is kind of exactly what he just emailed me about. So he recut it to our music and sent it back to me. And of course we all saw it, and he reached out to the guy and he was like, yeah, of course you guys can use that footage for your video. That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Wow.
So yeah, he just wound up recutting already existing a short film to our music for that video.
That's great.
That
Holy
is-
shit. Everything seems to come organically from failure. And like earlier this week, just like I was going to say that it's mixed so well and your drums sound so good. And it sounds like it had to have come from a jam. I mean, it's like you guys, one of you start playing something and the other guys follow, or because it seems like it has to be the way, because I don't think anybody could just come up with this out of their, out of ether.
It depends. It depends on what song you're talking about. We do, starting with Fantastic Planet. We started, back then we started doing it because we were buying all this recording gear and kind of needed to learn how to use it before we started recording Fantastic Planet. So we had gotten a rehearsal room and Ken set all this stuff up, and we started just jamming and recording these rehearsals and then listening to them. Ken would make us mixtapes, cassette tapes, and we would each go back and listen to them and write down times for like some of our favorite moments. So there were definitely songs, there were definitely moments in there that were turned into songs. There were also songs that were like written by Ken and Greg together in a room, just like, oh, I've got this part, and oh, this part would go good with it, and then like leave it alone for a week and come back to it with this other part that someone came up. There's some of that also. And we've kind of carried that way of working on records through to what we're actually doing today. Like in Hard as a Monster, we did the same thing where when we first got back together in 2013, we spent like 2 weeks just going to Ken's and recording these long, sprawling hours and hours and hours, like, 30, 40 hours of jams. And then, we would whittle them down to like, maybe an hour's worth of really cool, exciting ideas and sort of build songs from there. And also when we finally got into the studio for that record, there were other songs that we wrote the entirety in the studio, just from, you know, a drum idea or a guitar idea, or someone came in like going, hey, I've got this riff and this riff, you know, what can we do with this? Is this worth working on to put on the record? Because as soon as we start recording, we start with a song, we finish that song, and then we move on to the next one. Nothing is entirely written before we start the recording process. And on the newest record, it was kind of a combination of that again, where there were some songs that almost the entirety of it came from those jams. Like we literally took the actual recordings of the jams, because we went into a really nice place during the pandemic this time and recorded everything like we were in a recording studio. So some of those moments were really captured really well, so we could remix them and bring them to life, and they actually made it on the record. But then there are other songs where there's just like a moment, like one bar of music on those jam tapes that gets plucked out, and a whole bunch of other parts get written around it.
Wow.
There's some songs that really, the key changes are so abrupt. It does sound like two songs mixed. Like my classic example, Small Crimes. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean that's. I mean I think part of our musical language is, you know, mainly playing and doing things that we find exciting. You know, and I think a majority of those moments to a listener tend to be like really, whoa, like what just happened? Like, you know, almost like I need to rewind that. And did that really happen? Like how?
Yeah.
You know, and it becomes like part of our musical language, and that sort of distinct thing that makes us us.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of the vocabulary.
I've been looking everywhere. Well, I just started playing guitar again after I guess I'd say about a 6-year hiatus of true one, and I've been looking everywhere for failure, for people's interpretations of what they think failure does. I've seen one good bass cover of Empty Friend, which was really good.
I love that song.
Yeah, that's an awesome song. But everything I'm finding is it's very unorthodox. Who I know Ken and Greg, they switch up, but is Greg more of a bassist? Is that more where he gravitates?
No. You know, Greg tends to play the more complex. Complex in the sense that physically the things that aren't really easy to play. Only because the main consideration is Ken has to be able to sing and play those songs. So I think, and I don't, that isn't necessarily a conscious thing. It's just sort of what happens when approaching the songwriting, because Ken is playing something and also thinking about and or singing a melody for this thing.
Right.
So because Greg is unencumbered by having to sing and play, he gets a little bit more free and is able to sort of reach out and play things that would be a lot more difficult to play if you had to sing them also. Because they're like rhythmically, they're probably in direct contrast to what the vocals rhythmically are doing. Or they're just like huge stretches where like you're singing a part and, you know, can't really afford to be looking down at the same time, you know, because it's just such an unorthodox chord.
It's so hard.
So, you know, a lot of it, I say musical language, like there are a lot of things that we do collectively as a band that you don't necessarily think about. They just sort of, you know, unconsciously are a part of what you do. You know, I think that's definitely changing a little bit as like from the last record to this new record because Greg is singing a lot more. And I think in a lot of ways, it's, especially on the new record, the songwriting really is starting to hone itself down to the bare essentials. Like, what does a 3-piece band sound like when they're playing live?
Okay.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Not that there isn't still all that lush production. It's just more in the background. It's not such that, you know, as on previous records where it's almost like another member of the band playing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially on the new record, like there are a lot of moments where you're like, wow, this could be like Van Halen. Like, it just sounds like 3 guys playing their instruments. Like, it's so sparse. But the power you get out of just 3 guys and all that space between everyone is a pretty, like, amazing force to be reckoned with, for sure.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that because when I heard and like truly listened, I was like, man, these guys are like, but I honestly thought there were 5 people in this band. When I was like, saw it was like 3 of you, I was, holy shit. And then I thought about like everybody having, you know, to do their job and how important each piece is, of course, and how much responsibility there is on to not letting down your buddy over there, because if you don't do this, then it's only you 3, and it's all on it, and that's good and bad.
Yeah,
I would think in a lot of ways, but you guys are incredible. I mean, how do you fill up all that space? You know what I've heard the songs on the albums, but they sound so good live too. And I was going to mention that, but you had already explained it in the last question. So, but
you know,
and
I in general, I think we set a high bar for ourselves. Like, I know personally, like, I'm never satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know I can always do it better. I fortunately know when to let go and when to trust the other 2 guys in the band. You know, when they say, like, it's cool, we love it, it's great, it's perfect, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so fortunately, my attitude towards myself doesn't become torture or negative. And I believe that, you know, Ken and Greg are much the same way. You know, while we're working on things, it's all about, you know, challenging ourselves and making ourselves happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's essentially who we're making these records for.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah. I love to hear that.
You know, and I mean, we've been fortunate that we have, you know, a very core group of, like, just really diehard music lovers
Mm-hmm.
who have followed us through this journey and brought people along the way. But, you know, inevitably, you know, there are like 2 great moments when you finish a record and you know you've made the best record. You know, and we look to each other for that. But, you know, another great moment is when you finally get to go out and play that stuff and you just see that, like, crazy, like, holy shit look on people's faces when you get to perform it live.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where the real work comes in. Is, you know, we write and we record these records song by song, so afterwards we have to go back and learn them, like, learn how to play them.
Okay.
And not only do we have to learn how to play them, we have to learn how we're going to play our part, you know, the bass, drum, and guitar part. And then who's going to play all of these other little things? Like, who are those little things going to be delegated to? You know, it's a lot of work, you know, and it's the thing about the band is there's never a moment where we stop taking it just really, really seriously. Like, the work never stops.
Really?
The work stops when a record cycle is done and we've played the last gig.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then we take a little while off and we just start over again.
Upcoming tour?
Yeah, well, we were gonna try and do it in March, but we just found out, we're just finishing the music, and we found out that there's a massive waiting list to get vinyl. It's going to take us 8 months to get vinyl printed.
Oh my goodness, really?
So we had to,
I'll buy it.
yeah, we had to move the tour in March back because we won't have a physical product to tour on. And that's part of our thing. When we go out and tour, our merch has like the new record, and because we're doing everything ourselves. That, and I mean, look at the world around us. It's pretty fucking nuts. And I don't go anywhere, and I have pre-existing conditions, and I've essentially been locked in my house over the last almost 2 years now. Except for I do my sessions where I go to a studio with one other person, who's equally as safe. And my wife and I go out and do things here and there that don't require us to be around a lot of people. And getting together with the band, a couple times over the past year to just do work. So, with that in mind, I really don't want to be responsible for people dying at our shows. It's just obviously we're not at a place where large groups of people can be around each other without a high risk of people going home and, if not themselves getting sick, passing it to someone else who gets sick and potentially dies. Like, the ripples of someone deciding to be around a lot of people go far and wide once they leave that place.
Yes.
So, and you want to go see like this kick-ass band play live, and you just want to be out. Like, I get it. But at the same time, like, it's our show, and we can decide. The risk is too great, and we'll make the decision for all of those people that really want to see us play live, that would be willing to show up during, like right now, it's just too crazy.
Right.
And people are inevitably going to get sick, and, I'd rather not. So we pushed it back to June. And we'll see how things go then. Hopefully some more people, have taken the shot and gotten immunized, or, whatever happens. We'll see if the world gets a little bit more normal and safe.
You gotta get waxed.
Yeah, and I know a lot of live venues are, requiring people to have vaccine cards, which is cool. And I'm all for that. Again, for me, it's, people's freedoms and all that. I mean, that's got nothing to fucking do with me. You can do whatever you want. Personally, I would like to see everyone get vaccinated so we can all go back to normal. But, it's not up to me. But there also, as unvaccinated people get excluded from being able to do normal things.
Yeah, that's fucked.
You're going to start to see people making fake vaccination cards and, whatever they have to do to get out into the world and, do the things they were doing before all this started. And, I don't want to be a fucking part of that either.
Right.
I have very strong thoughts about this whole thing. Obviously, I'm
all three of you seem to.
Who's been forced inside. I really don't have much of a choice with everything that's going on in the world. And, if anyone's watching this, I've been vaccinated. I'm about to get another vaccination, and, I'm fine.
Right. But that's
totally fine. No adverse reaction whatsoever. I had a sore arm for 2 days, but honestly, my older brother punched me and made me way more sore than that when I was a kid. So
my old man didn't get the vaccination. He passed away about 2 weeks ago. My mother had it. My sister had it. But my dad was, he tested positive for it, but he was evidently asymptomatic. in other words, that's not what took him out.
Yeah.
He had a lot of other things going against him.
Yeah.
But anyway, not to get too heavy. Different subject. Did you get the podcast I sent you with the one we did with Jordan?
I did. Did
you get
Yeah,
to listen to it?
I kind of scoured through it. How'd you guys like talking to Jordan?
Jordan is awesome.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
so
he's a-
laid back, sweetheart, guy.
Class
yeah.
act.
And got in, and since now Blinker is one of the on my rotation now, and that's even it's not a pop very not none many people know about Blinker the Star, but
No.
damn, they're missing out.
No, believe me. I mean, we play to a lot of crickets on some of those tours. I mean, as did Failure. I mean, before we broke up, we were like, 50 people here, 100 people there. If we got big tours, like, they can't escape. They have to stand there and wait till we're over. Which is fine. It's just as easy to pretend they're all there to see you. But yeah, I mean, that's I think that's generally the kind of the way it goes if you're willing to step out on your own and do something that makes you fulfilled.
Yeah.
You have a choice. Like, you want to make money, or do you want to like do something that's never been done before?
Mm-hmm.
You only get one opportunity to do something that's never been done before.
Truth.
You can't do something to make money and then try and come back and do something that's never been done before once you have the money, because people just won't take you seriously anymore. So
Truth.
you have to make that decision, and every moment and month and tour and record and year of just sort of fighting your way through, you got to keep making the decision over and over. Do I love doing this enough to never make any money doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean that much to me? Or should I just go back to school and or go get a job or join some band that's selling a bunch of records?
Mm-hmm.
And I can honestly say it's been worth it.
Well,
has it been?
I would hope you'd say that.
I mean, and it
thank you
shouldn't be. And honestly, like, easy's not even really, in retrospect, I'm like, in my fucking early 50s now. Like, nothing's easy. It's not even easy for the guy that like wrote a fucking hit song and is like, touring and flying around the world playing to millions of people. Like, there is no easy. Life is just like, you get to decide what it is that you're experiencing. Is it the greatest thing in the world, or is it like so tough on me? And I mean, it's just that, like, you get to choose, and sometimes, especially when I was younger, like, my choices on the way I was viewing my life weren't necessarily helping me feel better about things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's on me. Like, life's amazing. It's amazing for everybody.
I agree.
It's all about the choice. You get to decide. How do you want to see it? I just got over a bout of cancer. One of the most fucking amazing things that ever happened to me. Yeah, did I like the surgery?
Yeah,
no. Did I like all the CT scans? And no, but I mean, honestly, like, it's behind me, and I'm in great health because of it. I'm not going to have to deal with a shitload of stuff that normal people deal with in their 60s and 70s, and I'm a better person for it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And that's how I choose to look at it. I could have chosen to look at it in a number of ways, and I'm certainly not poo-pooing a person's right to choose on how they want to view their life. I'm only talking about me. But my experience is, when I changed the way I looked at my life, I started to see how beautiful life is. all the time, even during the difficult moments.
Yeah, you get through some of those difficult moments and come out, and it's even better on the other side. So it's better than. It's like, what do you do?
Well, the thing is when we have difficult moments, we tend to only look at those moments.
Yeah.
The problem with that is there's still like all this other beautiful shit going on around you. Like that never stops happening.
That's great.
And my point is life is never just, those challenging moments. Life is like, it's all of it. Like you're allowed to laugh just after you've like buried a loved one. Because
Thank you.
something beautiful and funny also happened in your life. It's just, I don't really know where I'm going with this. I could definitely talk about it all day long.
It's appropriate and appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think it was an answer to, just probably a lot of stuff that is going on and on our minds. And back to the, playing to very few people. It's like, I'm playing to 50 people, but, I get to get into a van and I get to travel from state to state. And like, I've wanted to do this ever since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And hard or not, like I still get to do it, like, 40 years later.
That's amazing, man. But you did take a chance when you were very young, going out to LA when you were what, 17, 18? You were young.
17, yeah. 17.
Wow. And so you were out in LA in the mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
Did you see
the death of Cannibal? It was so fun. Dude, you gotta, like, I was a kid. I was into Motley Crue and Rat, and like when I showed up at the Sunset Strip, my first Friday night, and there were like 60,000 people just wandering around, being insane. Like it was just like I was beside myself. I was in heaven. Like it was everything I'd ever dreamt it would be and more. Okay,
so you saw the debauchery and all the stuff, of course, but what did you see the death of hair metal coming? Because you were in that scene.
No. Honestly, I didn't see it. I mean, that was definitely my tribe when I moved to LA. Like we gravitated to the Sunset Strip, and I had a couple of guys that I came out with, and we had this really weird. We definitely looked like hair dudes, but our music was all over the place. When we were kids, we used to have this group called Radip. And it was around the time that like Rockers Against Drugs came out. Mm-hmm. And we used to get together and we would smoke a lot of pot. Mm-hmm. And there were like 5 or 6 of us. And each person was responsible for introducing a new piece of music, a new band or artist. Mm-hmm. And we would sit around and get really high and listen to like Eben Ozen or The Cure or Cameo or like all of this music, like the new Metallica record, which, back then may have been Injustice for All.
Okay.
So it was like back early 80s metal, but everything. And we always, like, even when we were writing then, the idea was musically for us to sort of have our hands in everything. So we didn't sound like a straight up strip rock GNR Bullet Boys. We didn't necessarily sound like all of that stuff. We definitely looked like it. Like we had a Bowie Sunset Strip, makeup, hair. That aesthetic was definitely there. So I was already in sort of both camps of being experimental musically, but also the Sunset Strip. Shortly after that, we were playing all these gigs, and I met this band called Liquid Jesus. We lived in the same apartment building, and we were doing all these gigs together, both of our bands. And they were more like the Seattle sound. Like one of the guys was actually from Seattle, so it was very wah guitar heavy, very Jimi Hendrix influenced. And they basically asked me one day, I mean, there's a longer story to it. They asked me, hey, we're looking for a drummer. And I'm like, well, what kind of drummer you're looking for? And they subtly said, well, kind of one like you. And I was sort of like, well, I'm already in a band. I was like, well, you know, I know this guy, a friend of mine was looking for a band, and they kind of amused me, and they're like, okay, yeah, we'll audition your friend, come out with him. So, you know, I got my friend. He was like, you know, over here at Musicians Institute. He was like, you know, one of those look at me, look at me, look at me. You know, learned how to play all the notes on the page, and he was exceptionally talented in that way. And he brought his big, like, you know, 9-piece drum set out there, and they played with him for like a song, and they took a break, and you know, I was inside with him getting water or something, and they're like, dude, why don't you just like, you know, sit down and just audition, try out for the band? I'm like, it's not really cool. Like, you know, his audition's my buddies, and it's his drum. Like, that'd be kind of fucked up. And they kept like pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. And one of them went at him, and they put him on the spot, you know, because we were friends. And they were like, hey, you know, kind of told him the backstory. We were actually wanted to audition Kellii. And he kind of gave in, and, you know, it was a really uncomfortable moment. And he and I think, stopped hanging out after that. He didn't say that he was butthurt, but he definitely was. And, you know, I didn't really have the emotional fortitude at the time to see that in him and sort of try and make some sort of amends with him. But I wound up joining the band in that way. And they had nothing to do with the Sunset Strip. You know, they were about the Pixies and the Hoodoo Gurus and like all of these bands that I hadn't really heard of yet. And so I was kind of stepping out of the Sunset thing when I joined this band, and we were playing like sometimes 7 nights a week, like just nonstop playing and playing and playing and playing, and got a record deal like pretty soon thereafter. So I probably didn't even realize that all of that stuff had died until it was like already dead months, maybe even a year after that. But I understand why. I mean, it just wasn't, it was too rigid. It was too just that thing.
Yep.
You know, and if there's anything that I've learned from that time to now is just being a person, like you constantly have to put yourself out there to find and learn new things. And it's not even just music, like your personality and your life experience should be constantly growing. And you should be constantly like bringing those things into the fold to build a bigger and better and more well-rounded human being. You know, and the same goes with music. So I was pretty fortunate that I just by nature missed the whole sort of quick demise of that. You know, it's just because it was too rigid. You know, and I still know a lot of those guys, and they still like play like that way. Like you can't play that way and, you know, play any of the types of music that have happened since then.
Yeah, some of those guys are fantastic players. I mean, they're
most of them are.
Yeah,
like it's ridiculous. I can't play that well.
You can listen to the first riff on Magnified as soon as Let It Drip starts.
That's great.
That is, it's not a power chord. He doesn't use a power chord the whole time. You know, that's
and there's no lead.
Right. Good.
There's no fucking lead. There's no lead guitar player in the band for that entire record. Like they're just like great melodic parts, you know, no leads. And it's funny you say that because I was playing in a bunch of bands looking for like the band that I wanted to be in. And I had decided that I needed to play with everyone I could get my hands on in order to find that band. Either I would find them by playing with them, or someone would tell someone who would tell someone, something would happen. I would be at the right place at the right time. And I came home one day and Ken was on my answering machine, who I'd never met. I didn't know anything about Failure. I vaguely remember seeing a poster for a gig with Sandy Duncan's Eye at this place that I used to frequent called Club Lingerie. And they had like an advert, a poster, you know, we're playing Friday, these two bands.
That's a funny band.
So I vaguely remember the band name from that. Never heard them. Didn't know anything about them. I got home. Ken was on the answering machine. Tom Morello was on the answering machine because Failure and Tom were both managed by this guy, Warren Entner. And Tom was like, hey, there's this band, you should check them out, like they're really cool. And he gave me somebody's number to get a hold of, probably the management's number. There was a message from the management, John Vaslu, who was like the day-to-day guy, and there was a message from somebody else, maybe somebody from Slash Records. No, the other one was from Pete Stahl, who, I don't know if you know him. He was in the Scream, a DC hardcore band, Grohl's first band.
Grohl, yeah.
He also had a band called Wool, and he's been in a bunch of bands since then. Phenomenal singer. Him and his brother Franz, guitar player. And I was playing with them, and I guess Pete or maybe Franz and Ken knew each other, and they were both auditioning drummers. So when drummers wouldn't work out, they would pass them back and forth to each other. Maybe try this guy, or this guy tried out, not really what we're looking for, but a really good drummer. So he also told me about Failure. And this is all one day. I click play and boop. Hey, this is Ken from Failure. Boop. This is Warren from Warren Management. Boop. It was just ridiculous. So I get on my bicycle. I ride down to their record company, which was about 4 blocks away, and pick up their the cassette sampler for Magnified. And I put it on my dresser, go back about my business. I had talked to Ken. I set up an audition for like that weekend. Completely forgot all about it. Hadn't even listened to the tape. And of course, Ken calls me back that night and is just livid, because they spent money and booked this rehearsal studio to audition me. And everybody's like, this is the guy. And I didn't even show up. And I think there was one other drummer that just really wasn't that good that they had to sit through. He was pissed. He was really not happy for good reason. And I kind of talked him off the fence a little bit and was like, well, let's do it again. And he's like, we can't. I'm getting ready to leave. Like, he was being very like short. Can't do that. I'm leaving. And, I was just like reaching for straws. I'm like, well, why don't let me just audition with the bass player. And he was kind of like, you can do that? I'm like, well, yeah, drums and bass. Yeah, I'll learn the songs. I'll go out there, audition with the bass player. He's like, all right, let me call Greg and see if it's cool. Anyway, so we set up another audition. I put on the tape. First song is Let It Drip. Mm-hmm. To get back to what you were saying. Instantly.
Yeah.
I literally, as soon as note after note after note after note, my insides are just welling up, and I'm just like, oh my fucking God. Mm-hmm. This is everything. What is this?
Yeah.
This is everything I've been looking for. And I knew it instantly that this was going to be my Led Zeppelin. Which is the only other band that I can really think of that I care that much about on every level. That's why I say that. We're not Led Zeppelin.
You are to me.
That was the feeling I got. And the next thought was, oh my God, I just blew this. I totally just completely blew this. Fortunately though, I learned the songs, showed up, played with Greg. We went in the office, we called Ken. Greg was like, we found the guy. And then we went on tour with Tool. Greg went on vacation after that with his family. He got back, and then I think we rehearsed for 2 or 3 weeks and basically toured the world with Tool on Magnified. Yeah, it was insane.
That's
amazing.
amazing.
I mean, the whole time I'm like, oh my God, I've made it. I can't wait to tell my mom and dad. And,
Well, you kind of did, man.
I mean, well, I was young and I was naive. And yeah, in one respect, I had made it.
Yeah.
But not in what I was talking about. I thought money and fame and popularity and, everything that every young child musician thinks he wants. Fortunately, we didn't make it because I think personally I definitely became a better musician because of it, and a better human being. And I think as a band, we were able to just kind of draw a line in the sand and, say if we're going to make records, I guess these are our records.
Is that what?
There's not really anything to lose by making a bad record. So we're going to make the best record we can make because, if no one's going to hear it, we are.
That's liberating, man. That's so nice to hear someone say it's okay to make the best.
Yeah, well, not being success, again, back to it's your choice how you want to see things. Not being successful is its own success. You get things out of not being successful that people who are successful either lose sight of or will never have.
You live the blues.
Sort of, yeah. Definitely. But not. I mean, the blues are the blues. That's the problem. Like, all the people who really experienced the blues died off, and everything since has been, like, called the blues.
Right.
True.
So, were you on August Everywhere? Did you record?
Oh yeah,
that was you. Yeah. Okay.
That's me on the entire. Actually, there's one song on there. There's two songs. One song, Jordan went off to Miles Copeland, Stuart Copeland's older brother, had this songwriting castle in France. And Rondor Music, who was Jordan's publishing company, asked him if he wanted to go over there. And it would be all these songwriters from all across, like, all types of music from all around the world. And every day you would wake up and they would put you in a pod of different people, and you would be responsible for writing and recording a song every day. And they did that every day. And in one of these pods was Vinnie Colaiuto, who is the world famous, like, one of the greatest drummers that's ever lived.
We know him.
We know him very well.
Jordan, like, really, really hit it off and became very good friends in this castle. And they recorded a song that recording is what made it onto August Everywhere. There was just so much magic there, first of all, that it couldn't be re-recorded by anyone. And it just sounded in a certain way that you wouldn't be able to reproduce. So that song made it on the record as is. And when they were mixing the record, Vinny came down the day they were mixing that song, and I literally got to see him cry when he heard, like, he is so in love with music and things and artists that he gets to play with still to this day, that he has the emotional fortitude to hear something and then it still resonates deep within him that he can actually cry about it. I found very, like, moving and exceptional, and, like, one of those traits, like, I hope someday, like, I am like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Music's one of the only things that can still do that to me. I mean, I could see some, sad part in a movie, and, of course it's going to make you, like, there's Old Yeller makes me cry. Yeah. But music does it a lot, more than any other, medium. That it's the easiest way to get me to feel something. And your bands, sir, have done that to me.
Are you a closet crier? Are you listening to our records and crying?
Yes, I am. I cry all the fucking time. Pennies from the further. Oh man, that hit me the other day.
Great song.
Oh my god.
There's some really sonic depth to that song.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful.
You'll be happy to know that the new record will have you crying in a few moments.
Okay.
Yeah. There's definitely some deep cuts on the new record. And it's a single record. It's not a double record. It's 40 minutes of your time.
Well, I like the double records.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and so did we, but, we like to change things up, so.
The 4 EPs coming out is brilliant. Geez.
I mean, it was completely lost on everyone, and it was a marketing disaster. Like, we couldn't get, because getting people to write reviews and it's a difficult thing to do on a release. To get all the right people in right places to spread the word that a band has a new record out. Like, people just weren't willing to give us that courtesy on 4 releases in a year.
It was
so
the
that,
coolest
and
thing I've ever
Flint
heard.
music stealing everyone's money, and that other than the musical execution and art execution of that record, like everything else just was one disaster after another.
Yeah.
With
Well,
that record, it was a tough record, a heartbreaking record.
that's a great
work
record.
on and go through.
I think it's fucking awesome. Honestly, man.
Oh,
listen, you've
It's my favorite record up until the newest one. Up until the newest
Really?
one. I thought, like, as a band, like, we, the hope is to be a little bit better every time you go through one of those cycles and all of that work and immersing yourself. And I'm confident and, like, just elated and really happy each time we continue to make a record.
yeah.
I will stand by any of those records.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Hell yeah.
But
Well,
the
you
new
should-
one's gonna blow your pumpkin.
Okay.
The new one's
I won't-
badass.
When's it due? When's it due out? Or
We
do y'all
haven't
know
figured
yet?
that out yet because the vinyl is going to take 8 months.
Mm.
And we're just now starting to work on some of the packaging elements. We just finished the music, I think. We haven't sent out the official sign-off email, but I think we finally did the last mastering that we've all agreed to and signed off on. So next, we move to the packaging, which we've already kind of started talking about.
That's exciting.
So I mean, it's gonna be a while.
It's okay.
We haven't decided whether we want to release the record and possibly wait until a couple weeks later to get the vinyl, or we want to wait until we have everything to release it. So not entirely sure yet. So sometime between March and May.
That's not that far off.
No.
Yeah, and we're gonna tour in June.
Oh, okay.
Coming to Orlando this time?
Yeah.
You will? I'll be there.
We came to Orlando last time.
I know. I couldn't make it.
We came to that place. What's that place called?
House of
downtown.
Blues.
It's a really nice venue.
Didn't you try the House of Blues?
No, last time we played in some other place downtown that was super nice. Brand new place, like lots of backstage rooms and stuff. I actually got a massage after that show. But it was a really nice, state-of-the-art, brand new building, like kind of downtown, around the area where Orange Avenue, like, kind of starts to curl around that way, just after downtown. It's like sort of right in that, like, 2 or 3 block area.
Okay. I know exactly where you're talking about. Lived in Orlando for about 3 months while we were trying to get plugged in somewhere in Florida. We went down the Gulf Coast, hit Sarasota, headed to Orlando. I was doing cell tower work at the time, and so I just kept, we just went from one town to the next, and
wait a minute.
settled on
Do
Ocala.
you know a guy named Michael McLeod?
Michael McLeod?
Yeah.
Not right off. I don't.
Nah. Okay.
Is he in Ocala?
We went to school together. He has a cellular business up in Ocala.
Does he go by Bo? Does he go by Bo?
He might. He's a weirdo. His name is Michael. I would never call him Bo. I know him as Michael. Like,
he's not Mike Moody, is it?
No.
Okay. Because I did work for him, and he has a cellular business down here as well.
Yeah.
I might know him if I saw him.
No, you said that, and you're like from Ocala, and I know, Ocala's small. So is Orlando, for that matter.
Yeah, it is surprisingly small. I wanted to ask you, man. You were talking. I heard you talking on the other podcast we listened to. You don't take credit for Magnified, the drums on Magnified. Is that right?
Yeah. No, that's Magnified is back to August Everywhere. The other song that I'm not playing on, when we recorded, I'll make this quick. And I'll get back to that question. We recorded the drums. I can't remember what the name of the song was, but the drums, the recording of them was bad. And I was out on tour with Vanilla Ice, I think. old Rob Van Winkle talking about
Mhm.
Florida. He so they had to have Josh Freese re-record that take, and to his credit, he basically recorded exactly. He just did my recording, but obviously the drums themselves, it was a better recording.
Mm.
But he played all my parts.
Because you mentioned, oh, go ahead.
Well, on Magnified, none of that's me. I joined the band right at the tail end of that record being finished.
Mm-hmm.
So they put me on there as a special thanks. I did get the opportunity to not rewrite, but well, first let me explain how they did the drums on that record. They had a drummer. What was his name? Something Gardaki. He recorded like 4 songs. Kind of recorded 4 songs. He kind of choked and left the band early on in the recording of Magnified. Let It Drip, Moth, Frogs, and Undone.
Mm-hmm.
With Undone, they had to take his drum part and create a loop. And then they went in and played individual drum parts. Like all the snare fills, or the engineer was a drum corps major. So
Mm-hmm.
he did all those like fast snare fills, and they would record those and put them into the song. Same with the kick drum on Frogs is drum machine kick drum.
Really?
So they basically pieced all of those drum tracks together with electronics, like some like drum machine stuff, and or Greg going in and playing the snare part, recording it, playing the hi-hat part, recording it, playing the tom parts, recording it, overdubbing the cymbals. And that's how they were doing the drum tracks for that record.
Is that how they did? Is that how Greg did it on Replicants? Because he got full credit.
No, that's him playing a full kit on Replicants.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did great on that album.
Yeah.
Man, I love that album.
Yeah, that Replicants was like Greg playing drums and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Mm.
Drums, if you don't play drums full time, like drums can be exhausting. Like it's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah.
Just the physical part of it.
Yeah.
Forget about like the mental part of it.
Yeah, that's why drummers are a little bit off, right?
Yeah.
You take somebody that has something wrong with them a little bit to be able to do that.
Well, and also, I mean, the way we record drums, we tend to do it like really quick. So you have to have a lot of stamina. You have to be able to go through a song like several times, full blast. And while you're going through those different takes, parts might be changing, might be writing new parts on the fly. The arrangement might be changing, rearranging all the parts. You might be dropping parts. So mentally, you have to be able to remember all of these changes like on the fly while you're recording. And we usually, when we approach songs, like some of the records, we'd start a song and finish it. The drums would be done in the first 24 hours. Like we would write and arrange and record the drum part in the first like 20, 24, at most 48 hours. And then they would spend a week or two doing all the overdubs and vocals.
Man, speaking of that, the way you hit the drum is impressive. I don't know why. Maybe it's got to be a combination between way you hit your drum and how it's recorded and everything, and but my God, does it sound powerful, especially when like the guys are doing this over here and this over here, and it seems like you keep it together until it's able to come together into that payoff to where like, oh, it's so fucking awesome, man.
Part of it is 90% of it is me. I'm the only one that feels like me, so I'm the only one that can play like me.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is not only like the musical vocabulary, like the things I choose to play, but it also has a lot to do with the physical way I play.
Mm-hmm.
The way a note feels good to me, like how the way it has to feel for me to know that I played that single note correctly. Or to me, playing drums, or to me, playing music is, you have physical ability that you learn and you practice. And that's kind of the easy part. Anyone can do that. For me, there's, when I first started playing drums and my older brother would beat my ass, and I would be so mad that, I felt so small, or I couldn't defend myself, or I was going to get even, like all of these like really wide ranging, intense emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't have the skill set to talk to someone about it, which most people don't. But I had this thing, drums, that I could go in there for like hours and just force all of that stuff out of my body into this thing. Like it became the voice to my insides. So, I mean, that's what it is. Like it literally, when I play, it's not like notes on a page, or it's not what I'm thinking. It's an extension of all of the things that I don't have a vocabulary to express in the real world to someone or something, and that's just how I get that stuff out of my body, so it doesn't build up and cause me harm.
Right.
In some cases, some of it's beautiful stuff also. It's not just like, crazy stuff, like, it's a mixture of everything that doesn't get expressed and or talked about with someone.
Yeah.
It comes across, man.
But I mean, that's why
Yeah.
that's the only explanation I can come up with as to why I sound, and it definitely has a certain feeling to it, and it when I hear it back, like it's really, it relieves me, that I was successful.
Mm-hmm.
Like it sounds in retrospect like it felt like, which is, I mean, that's the whole pie right there.
Yeah, it comes
For,
across.
for me, if you're going to successfully do anything with music, you have to be able to find your inner voice, and you have to be able to somehow translate it forever onto an album. And sometimes it gets me into sticky situations, because recording drums, like you really have to be careful how you play drums, because they don't, when you hit them really, really, really hard, they don't necessarily sound very good. Like you're squeezing all of the good sound out of it, and you're just getting the intense note. So there's a very fine line between expressing yourself, but also letting your instrument express itself and sound good. And letting someone like Ken, who's just so talented at engineering, do his job.
Thank
And make your instrument sound the best that it can be. And unfortunately, the harder you hit it, the worse it generally tends to sound. So you really have to be critical of, those moments, and how much force or which emotions you're going to choose. That's why there are medium ones in there too, and there are soft ones in there too. It all kind of depends on, what the music's asking for. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things, and honestly, I don't really think about it in these terms. It just sort of happens, because I mean, that's all I've done for 40 years.
But the listener feels it. The listener will. It comes across, man, and I appreciate it. I really do. So thank you.
And you've never seen us play live?
No, I haven't. No. Tony.
Way back.
Waiting to see us play live.
Yeah, it's new to
I
me,
do
man.
not fuck around live. I leave it all on the field.
If you come
all on the field every single night.
Atlanta, Nashville, Memphis, any of these places, Birmingham is where I live.
Let me see. I mean, this is just kind of tentative, but where is it?
Gotta do Atlanta.
Yeah, we're doing Atlanta. We always play Atlanta. We always play at the Masquerade.
That's a great spot.
Where are we at?
It's all Zach Sabbath.
Tulsa, Lawrence, Austin, Nashville, Birmingham.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tony.
Birmingham one night and then Atlanta the next night.
I might see you twice.
There's no Florida though.
What?
No, we turn right around and go to DC.
May have to go to Atlanta.
There's a rally. There's a rally in North Carolina, and then we go to DC.
All right. If you come to Atlanta, Tony, I'll meet you there. I'm also seeing Birmingham.
Yeah.
It's going to be
and I mean, these are all still tentative. Like they could change, right. But I don't think so.
It's far enough out to where your fans can make plans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll probably announce the tour in March or April.
That's perfect.
Just so people know, and obviously we're gonna want to gauge which way all of this stuff's going. Hopefully, it'll be coming back down.
Right.
We can all feel safe being in the same space again.
Yeah.
Tony, do you have another one? Sorry. I'm sorry, Kelly.
Go ahead, man.
I just wanted to say that I've noticed that if I were to go and ask somebody in a record shop, do you know Failure, the band Failure? And, maybe some of them would say, hey, yeah, I know Failure. But if you go into a music shop, to a guitar shop or a drum shop, 95% of them know Failure. And so what would you say that, and why are bands like Failure that just gravitate toward them?
Obviously as a musician, you want to be liked and respected by your peers. I don't think that's not an easy thing to be afforded. And it's funny because we did somewhere we gained this moniker. I don't even know who said it. It was years ago. It might have been before we broke up or right when we got back together. But it tends to be true. And it's a very humbling statement. I wish I did know who actually said it. Your favorite band's favorite band.
Yeah.
And just that realization by itself has made it's worth it. Like I alluded to earlier, very few times in life are you afforded the respect and all the cash and prizes.
Mm-hmm.
Normally you have to choose which one you want the most, and go for that one. And I feel of those two, the respect is probably the harder one to achieve because you can't directly elicit it from people. Right. Either they do or they don't. And there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas cash and prizes, you can spend a career writing that hit song and eventually one of them's going to hit.
Mm-hmm.
There's craft to that. You see it in plain sight all the time. The path of least resistance says this is how you write a song, and this is generally what it should sound like, and this is generally what you're going to get in return. So there aren't, as a human being, there are a bunch of small words to describe it, but the significance of that, it's extremely humbling, and when the weight of it sits on you, like you were talking earlier, you cry in the closet listening to music. It's one of those kind of moments. It's I think generally people don't want to think that of themselves, because it's kind of what a fucking jerk. Who do you think you are? You think a lot of yourself, don't you? For good reason. But every now and again it sneaks in, and it's like, all of these years, it's like not all for nothing. That's the real prize. Like, that's the one thing, that is the hardest to get. Like, it's much more difficult to get the respect of your peers, people who actually know what it is that you're doing, and decide, like, in large quantity, like, that's respectable shit right there. I mean, that in and of itself is a good reason to still make records.
Yes, it is.
But it's humbling. It's really, really, really humbling. It certainly is nothing I ever sought. Like, that wasn't even on my radar when I decided I'm going to be a rock and roll drummer. I was off there for all the stuff, like girls and fame, and to feel better about myself. Feel like I was the shit, and to be the person people looked up to, and the trappings, the things that young people want.
Yeah.
And I saw the back of a Kiss record and was like, if I have this, everything is going to be perfect. It's going to be okay. Like, no one will ever pick on me again. No one will ever say no to me again. Like, all of those things that kids silently go through. Like, music was my vehicle, and somewhere along the way, it became my choice, and it became the thing that absolves me of all that, like, bad feeling and self-loathing, and as I am enough, is what I get from playing music.
I like it.
Which is, I mean, that's the best. Like, if you can say that as a human being, then you've won. Like, that's the prize.
Yeah. It's so refreshing to hear,
I heard you say one time to somebody, you're like, the best advice I can give to a musician that's don't try to be failure, because we didn't try to be failure. We didn't, we became.
Yeah. Don't try to be anything except for who you are.
Yeah.
Because, worst case scenario, and there are a lot of bands like this that, like, went out and wrote a song that sounded like a song, they made $1 million, and they'll live happily ever after. They're not living happily ever after. They don't have to worry about paying their bills, and they have a house, and probably a beautiful wife and children and all of those things. But in your heart of hearts, you don't have the guys at music stores like going, that's the shit. That respect thing, that's the foundation that holds it all up. One without the other is a curse.
Wow.
You will always, like, having a hit song and knowing that you mailed it in will gnaw at you and ruin your life forever.
Man. I had never thought of that before.
No.
The greatest thing that ever happened to me is not becoming successful. I mean, I just wasn't emotionally and mentally developed enough to be able to deal with the kind of success that I wanted. I was able to develop into, like, I'm a pretty successful human being. Like, I'm good at navigating my emotional health. I'm good at talking about stuff. I have, like, a lot of tools to use to help me, like, successfully navigate life pretty evenly. And when, I get too much this way, like, I have tools to help me get back down to the middle. When I'm too low, I have tools to help me get right back to the middle. And, I didn't have any of those things until later on in life. I mean, that's why I almost killed myself with drugs and alcohol. Drugs were amazing. It was like, you get a headache, you take Tylenol, the headache goes away. You have a lot of, like, a lot of what you see as, failures, or, things that you didn't achieve, or things you wish you had done differently, or, pain, like all your failures in life.
Mhm.
You know, going all the way back to, God, I should have asked that girl out in third grade. Maybe everything would have been different. You know, whatever it is. And, you know, I just didn't have the emotional tools to work those things out, you know, and thankfully there were drugs.
Yeah.
You know, it at the very least kept it inside of me and numb until eventually a series of circumstances would unfold and I would find myself at the doorstep of a rehab for the first time. You know, and some dude would go, "Hey, you know, drugs aren't your problem, you are." I'm like, "What?" Like, I've always been told that, you know, drugs are my problem. You know, drugs were never my problem. I was. You know, there were just certain things that nobody ever taught me how to do for myself.
Mm.
So I kind of made it up as I went away. And, you know, some of the things I made up just only made things worse.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
Gave me
that.
more reasons to do drugs.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, I admire you for being able to stay clean for so long. It's
Yep.
not, well, maybe it's easier as it goes, but it's,
Well,
you know,
it's a lot of help from people. I mean, it's like anything in life. You won't be successful at anything in life on your own. You know, you
Truth.
need other people. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I can't make the music I make with failure without failure.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not a big fan of playing the drums. What I am a fan of is putting on a piece of music, sitting behind a drum set and reacting to it.
Yes.
That's what I
Yes.
do.
I do
That's
that
it.
too.
You
I
know,
hear it.
and back to that thing, it's like, you know, music, like, well beyond whether you're going to make records or go on tours, or like, music is such a profound gift to have to an individual to help you navigate the emotional life. And the the learning how to do it, and the work and the dedication and the accepting the responsibility once you join a band, that you've got to be the best one at what you do in the band, because everyone's relying. Like, there's so many tools you pick up from playing a musical instrument, in my case drums, um, that, like, your life, with or without music, is going to be a better place for you and everyone around you.
Oh yeah. This this past year, Sam, you can attest to how much better my life's become since my son got me this synth for Christmas. You
oh
know.
my God. He was, okay, Kelly, I got to tell you about Tony for a second. I'm sorry. But, the man was a great guitar player in high school. He was great. And, you know, then we kept playing together and stuff. But then he wasn't able to play for a while, you know, and we moved apart. We had families, had kids and all that jazz. But since he's gotten a synth that has all these, the technology is crazy.
Yeah.
He could make all these crazy sounds and is like sending me stuff. And was like, it sounds like you. Didn't matter if he was playing a guitar or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like, I can tell it's Tony just by hearing it for a few seconds. And it comes through, and that's him. I'm so proud of him too, man. He's a beast. Anyways, but does that come across with anybody else that you've known? It's like you can just, like, from your
I mean,
friends, from your
yeah.
buddies. It's
I
like,
mean,
I
a
figured
lot
that
of
man.
people. I mean, my greatest fortune is having had access to so many, like, amazing musicians. And I'm the kind of person, if I get in a room and someone's, like, better than me, like,
I love it.
we're going to continue to have a really strong relationship where I will not leave that person alone until like, our relationship is like this.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I thrive. I'm just a sponge. I love to learn, and I don't have a problem with humility. You know,
Yeah.
I'm allowed to not be that good in comparison to some of, like, just the amazing talent. But what I'm not allowed to take advantage of that moment and learn all of I can to make me a better musician. Like, that's what it's there for. to learn and get better. So I've literally, my greatest treasure is like living here in LA and having been afforded playing with so many just amazing musicians, most of which like have that thing and know that thing that I'm talking about. Like, you know, their relationship with their instrument. Like if I didn't have this thing, like I quite literally would die. You know, it tells the world something about me that I don't have words for, you know, and it's a musical language, and it's that thing that only you can do. And honestly, like the most rewarding part of music is finding that thing and creating using that thing, your voice. And that is what sets you apart from everyone else. Because like I said earlier, I mean, anyone can learn to play an instrument the best. You know, that all just depends on how much time and effort you're willing to put into it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can do that. What they can't do is put in the emotional content that only the user has.
That's what makes him unique. So that's what makes
That's how you get a John Bonham or a Keith Moon or a, you know, Yngwie Malmsteen or an Eddie Van Halen or a, you know, anyone, any of the greats, singers, guitar players, all of them.
You know what? And even if you are that great, there could be a chance that no one will ever hear you because there has to be so many things that fall in line, you know?
That's why I say, like, the prize is being able to do that. Like, all of this stuff out here, like, that's not the prize.
Yeah.
The prize is, do you have somewhere to go to get all of that out of you and put it into creation?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's what you get, and that's more than most people will ever have.
That's beautiful.
You can't find that in a wanted ad or on a street corner. Like, it doesn't exist in the world. It only exists inside of you.
I love that.
And actually, I take that very, like, you know, there's one passage in the Bible, like, God created man in his own image. That's the one part that I take very, very literally. Every single person on the face of the earth has the power to go within themselves and create something that never existed before. Yeah. Through whatever means. It doesn't have to be music.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah. I like it when it is music.
I do too. I understand it more when it's music.
Yeah.
Yeah. No kidding.
I like art too. I love, like, my wife and I go to museums a lot. And, you know, sometimes there's something on a wall and you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even conceive of how this happened and made its way on a wall for you to look at. And then there are other things where you're just kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, that's not whether, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I don't understand it. I don't resonate.
Doesn't resonate
in the same way. Music is entirely different. Like, I can listen to things I like, things I don't like. Like, there isn't anything that I hear that I don't, at the very least, understand and know exactly the mechanics of how it entered the world.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It all comes from a place of inner stillness, a place of no mind. Who said that? I can't remember who said that. I saw that the other day on an Instagram. Or Alex Gray. Alex Gray's one of his things. Anyway.
Dude, we're working on a double record here. Yes. Like 413. How are you guys? You like gonna give something away for free to get people to come listen to all of this?
Are
you gonna edit it? You're gonna edit it down?
No, I'm probably not gonna edit it down. All I do is I strip the audio out of it and you know, release it as an audio podcast. I've got an intro. I do all the music and all the production. I've got an introduction for this podcast. This is. I'll come up with a name for it after I go back and listen to it again, but it's the Kellii Scott episode. It's got about a 8 to 10 minute. I'm trying to work it down, make it a little bit smaller. Right now, it's about 10 minutes long of one song segueing into the next, and
Right,
just a
right.
bunch of random failure and just stuff that you've done, like Veruca
Right.
Salt and Blinker the Star and just stuff like that. And then yeah, that's that. But this begins season 2. This is the very first episode for a little bit of Synergy season 2.
Cool.
And
I'm a bookend.
you are. You
I
are.
like that.
And I'm about to start looking at Patreon and seeing about offering like the video diaries as well. Because
Patreon seems really cool. I don't know a whole lot about it. I know I think Ken actually has just moved a bunch of his stuff over to Patreon.
mm-hmm.
He's kind of told me a little bit about it.
Yeah. I watch his YouTube channel. His episodes are great.
They're cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And you know what I love about it? Like, there's a side of, like, all the way since the very first one. Like, there's a side of Ken that is, like, really playful and a lot of humor that makes it into those that I don't think before now a lot of people really got to see.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like when I watch them, it's like, oh, finally, like, the world gets to see, like, the Ken that I get to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Y'all come across as moody, for lack of a better term.
And we're much, much more than that. Much, much more.
Has to be. Yeah. Now, Kellii, this has been more than an honor for me, man. This is like a bucket list thing for me.
Awesome.
I'm an enormous fan. Enormous. So, yeah.
Damn it, I'm an idiot for not getting hip to it sooner. I had an epiphany, man. I swear, I was like, oh, and then now there's so much. It's incredible. And so I'm sorry, but also thank you.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, we're gonna let you go, man. I know you don't want to take up too much of your time.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's after 4. I think I might be able to get outside for a little bit of a walk. I mean, it is really beautiful. The sky's clear.
Yeah.
It's, sunny California.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been a couple hot weeks these last couple weeks. It's just brutal. And I'm obviously very sensitive to, like, not getting too much sun, because once you've had cancer once, it's a bit easier to get a second time. And I've never been a huge fan of, like, I'm not a, like, let's put on a bunch of oil and bake in the sun kind of person in the first place.
I can do that. Nope.
No, I had, my older brother and my dad and my sister were always, like, they were, like, lay out in the blanket in the sun for hours kind of people. And I would always just look at them like, no, what? Like, that's not normal. Like, you're baking. You're being bacon for 2 hours.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, of course, all the information comes out. It's like, there's a healthy amount of sun that every person should get every single day because there's, vitamins in it that are good for you. But generally, it's not a good idea to just go and lay in the sun and bake like a piece of bacon. You'll probably get some sort of skin cancer.
Yeah.
And as delicious as bacon is.
Yeah.
Taste that. I know you're plant-based and all that stuff, but I couldn't eat anyone else, no matter how long they've been in the sun.
I could, as a matter of survival. Yeah, as a matter of survival, like if you're in a plane crash in the Alps or in the woods, or definitely, I will have no problem eating the person next to me, their dog, like whatever. Dogs, animals first, and then people.
First.
Yeah.
Unless there's a person that's like, I love my dog more, then I'll eat them. I definitely will, but only as a matter of survival.
Hell yeah, man.
Right.
Hell yeah, I appreciate you letting me talk to you for a little while, man. And I'm a new fan as far as being like gonna fan out and go and buy your vinyl and come see you at shows 2 hours away. But I'm going to go hard, man, and I really appreciate you talking to us. And Tony, thank you for doing this. And
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Thank you for reaching out to me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Kellii. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
fantastic.
Absolutely. All right. If I send you the final copy, will you repost?
Oh yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
cool.
For
Oh,
sure,
Cool.
without a doubt.
Awesome. We'll look for that.
So- You're such a kind guy. So
Yeah, man. Okay, man.
I mean, is there anything else to be?
well, it's getting rarer and rarer, you know, these days, you know, so it's refreshing.
Well, it
You
and
know,
it takes.
it's in there. People still possess it. I just think a lot of people are really, really afraid of something and just acting badly.
Maybe so.
Yeah. Yeah, but like Sam always says, you expect the pendulum to swing, and
Yeah.
I think it will. I think it will.
Yeah, it'll be okay. A little more time.
Yeah.
Kellii,
All
you're
right.
one man.
Have a great rest of your weekend, guys, and thanks again.
Thank you,
Thank
Kellii.
you.
Stay safe.
You too.
Love you, Tony.
Love you too, Sam.
All
All right,
buddy.
guys. Later.